What if I told you that on Friday, two world leaders will meet on American soil, but that soil was Russian just 158 years ago, and one of those leaders might want it back? August 15th, 2025, President Trump flies to Anchorage, Alaska, to meet Vladimir Putin face-to-face for the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine. But this isn't just any meeting location. This is the closest American soil to Russia. Just 88 kilometers separate the mainlands. Alaska wasn't always American. For over a century, it was Russian America, until Tsar Alexander II sold it for $7.2 million in 1867, roughly under $156 million US today. That's less than what some billionaires pay for a yacht. Why Alaska? Trump could have chosen Switzerland, neutral ground. He could have picked Washington, home turf advantage. Instead, he chose the one American state that Putin can visit without crossing NATO airspace. The one place Putin's plane can reach without risking interception by countries enforcing his ICC arrest warrant. But there's something deeper here, something that makes Russian state TV hosts call Alaska our Alaska, something that makes Kremlin officials joke about going to war over this frozen frontier. In 1867, Russia was broke. The Crimean War had drained the treasury. Alaska seemed worthless, a frozen wasteland thousands of miles from Moscow. Tsar Alexander II needed cash fast, and America's Secretary of State, William Seward, saw an opportunity. The deal was signed at 4 a.m. to avoid congressional interference. Americans called it Seward's folly. Russians called it necessary. Neither side imagined what lay beneath the ice. Today, Alaska holds an estimated 3.4 billion barrels of oil reserves, 125 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, zinc, lead, coal, and rare earth minerals critical to modern technology. The timber industry alone generates billions. That's $7.2 million purchase. It might be the greatest real estate steal in human history. Russia sold away what's now worth over $3 trillion in resources. No wonder Putin's allies keep making jokes about taking it back. During the Cold War, Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev called this region the Ice Curtain. Alaska became America's Arctic fortress, bristling with Air Force bases, radar installations, and nuclear missile interceptors. The closest US territory to the Soviet Union became its most heavily militarized. That legacy lives on. Today's Alaska houses the North Warning System, a joint US-Canadian radar network scanning the skies for threats from across the polar region. But politics can't erase culture. The Yupik and Chukchi peoples have lived on both sides of the Bering Strait for centuries. Families separated by the Sail still maintain connections across the narrow waters. Russian Orthodox churches operate in 80 Alaskan communities, celebrating Christmas on January 7th using the old Julian calendar. Russian state TV host Olga Skabayeva doesn't hide her feelings. Our Alaska, she calls it on national television. Deputy Security Council Chief Dmitry Medvedev jokes about going to war with America over the territory. A 2022 billboard in Russia declared, "Alaska is ours," sparking outrage among US senators. These aren't random comments. In Putin's Russia, nothing appears on state TV by accident. At Monday's White House press conference, Trump said something peculiar. "I'm going to Russia on Friday," he announced, despite having already confirmed Alaska as the meeting location. Was it just a slip of the tongue, or does Trump see something more in this summit location? Social media exploded with speculation. Some claimed a 2022 Russian Supreme Court ruling nullified the 1867 Alaska sale. Others pointed to a 2024 decree allegedly declaring the sale illegal. The truth? There's no Supreme Court ruling nullifying the sale. The 2024 decree that conspiracy theorists cite, it exists, but it doesn't mention Alaska once. Instead, it allocates funds for searching and protecting Russia's historic overseas assets, a bureaucratic fishing expedition that could theoretically apply anywhere Russia once held territory. But here's what matters. Perception shapes reality in geopolitics. If enough people believe Russia wants Alaska back, that belief becomes a factor in international relations. Climate change is reshaping Arctic geopolitics faster than diplomats can adapt. As ice melts, new shipping routes open. As permafrost thaws, buried resources become accessible. As temperatures rise, the Arctic becomes less of a barrier and more of a bridge between superpowers. Alaska sits at the center of this transformation. What seemed like frozen wasteland in 1867 is becoming the crossroads of 21st century commerce and conflict. Every photo of Putin in Alaska will be broadcast in Russia as proof that their leader stands on Russian soil across from the American president as an equal. It's not about reconquest, it's about respect, recognition, and the message that Russia's sphere of influence extends far beyond Eastern Europe. Trump gets to look strong by meeting Putin on American territory. Putin gets to look strong by visiting historical Russian territory. Both win politically, but the real victory is the precedent. That territorial legitimacy can be questioned, that historical claims matter, that yesterday's sale might be tomorrow's dispute. The military bases stay operational, but the narrative? The narrative is shifting. This summit won't end the Ukraine war. It won't resolve Arctic tensions, but it will do something more subtle and more dangerous. It will normalize the idea that historical territorial claims never truly die. Watch this meeting carefully. Listen to the language used. Notice how Russian media frames Putin's visit. Pay attention to which American politicians defend Alaska's sovereignty and which stay silent. Because in geopolitics, silence speaks volumes, and sometimes a meeting location says more than any negotiated agreement ever could. What do you think? Is this summit about ending war in Ukraine or starting psychological warfare over Alaska? Let me know in the comments, and if this analysis opened your eyes to something you hadn't considered, share it, because understanding these power games might be the most important skill of the 21st century. Subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. The next video drops tomorrow, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.